Do you know if technology is streamlining or stalling your business? In an era where technology reigns supreme, businesses are constantly faced with the challenge of integrating the latest tech tools to enhance operations. Yet, does the influx of new technologies always guarantee streamlined processes, or can it sometimes become a stumbling block? Join us and guest expert Terrence Bryant, founder of Sidekicks LLC, as we unravel the balance between technological adoption and operational efficiency. You don't want to miss it.
Our goal is simple: to help you achieve the dream and vision you first had when you thought about starting a business. We're here to make growing your business less complicated. There are building blocks to build a sustainable business. We promise to seek them out and address them all. The Better Your Business Show starts now.
Good evening and welcome to tonight's show. I am Natalie Essman, your host. And of course, we have the coach for business herself, Miss Shanna Mavis. Hello, hello.
Okay, hopefully I'm not going to freeze because technology is not my friend tonight.
Technology is not your friend tonight.
I love it,
which is
I
funny.
feel like it doesn't love me the same.
That's funny since that's what tonight's show is on.
I know. I'm like, it stalls out on me and I just want it to work the way I want it to work. So maybe Terrence can tell us how to do that. You know, when he comes on, I'm excited to hear some of what he has to say. And I really enjoyed that pre-show conversation that we had. And I want to encourage anyone to join our Rescore community. We'll give you all the information, but join us there because that's where we're posting that type of content. We talked about some of the practical aspects of technology, some of the ways that, you know, as business owners, especially new business owners, right? We are the ones that we're seeing all of these things that are going to help us do things faster because we're on our own for the most part. And so we look for tools to replace people right now. Because it's a lot cheaper to say, oh, okay, I'm going to pay $9 a month for, you know, this particular copywriting tool or what have you. But then I've got so many other things to do with my business that, you know, at the end of the year, could I have just gone on Fiverr and gotten someone to do the copywriting instead of paying that? You know, could I have saved money that way? Oh, and my ring light just went out. So, really, I don't know what's happening. Hopefully I can make it through this entire show. Maybe we should bring Terrence on sooner rather than later before I drop out of here.
We're not allowed to lose you, Shannon. We're not allowed to lose you. Yeah, no, I'm excited about it too. I always enjoy conversations with Terrence. Obviously, you know, I don't have an extensive background even really using technology. It's not something I really dived into until I do systems. And I've gotten better at it, I think, frankly, just from our meetings we have on Mondays with Terrence, with the board, right? Spending time with you. And I love it because I always feel like I learned something. And it was funny because I had gotten a message for Asana the other day, and it was him and Tom Hobbs, and they're chatting. And I was like, was I supposed to get this message? Because it was completely Greek. I had no clue like what they were talking about. It must have been like I don't even know what it was, right? And it was funny. I told my husband, he goes, I've been thinking that a lot about you when you've been speaking about technology too. And I was like, really? Wow. I was like so impressed by that. So anyways, thank you, Shannon and Terrence, for that. But I'm excited because I feel like it just, you know, it's a way for us to make our businesses more efficient. And I like efficiency, obviously. So
as long as we make it more efficient. So let's go ahead and bring Terrence in so he can talk about that since we've got a limited amount of time with him tonight. Terrence Bryant, Sidekicks. Man, we can't hear you.
I'm kidding, guys. Everything's
good. Oh my God.
I don't want you to feel bad. So first lesson of the day, don't talk about the technologies or the technologies will come and get you. Shannon, take it all back. Your ring light will come back on, I promise. How you guys doing? Glad to be on the show today.
I'm glad you're here.
Yes.
Yeah, so we were talking about, pre-show, we were talking a lot more about, you know, just how can we make sure that we're not bloating our organizations and just some of the challenges there. But I'd love well, one, I'd love for you to give people a little bit about your background, and then I feel like you're my spirit animal with the listening to videos, consuming data 2 times, because I mentioned, I think it was last week or the week before that I was talking about that. I can't stand to watch a video at just its normal speed because I've got things to do. And you're telling me an hour? No. We can do this a lot faster. I'm not quite at 2 times. I'll put it up there so that 1.75 sounds normal. But yeah, I'd love to learn a little bit more, share your background with the audience, and then we can get more into the conversation about technology and how to make your business more efficient with it.
Absolutely. I'll take it all the way back to 5th grade because that's where it kind of started for me. I was not a very good student. I was very lazy. I didn't like to do things in a traditional way. I didn't recognize that was what was going on at the time, but that's what was happening. And I started to find ways that I could take my calculator, not only play games, but do my work faster. And it was something that kind of stuck with me. So as I grew up and as I started to advance into my career into software development, I was always intrigued by the opportunity to do a thing better. Now, been more than 20 years, into it. It's what I help other people discover, right? Where are your efficiencies, where are your inefficiencies, and one of the first places that we start to look is where are you spending your money, right? Because usually where you spend your money is where you spend your time, right? There are tons of business owners that are right now, today, as we speak, paying for 5 pieces of software that do the same thing because they got it at a good deal. They used a Groupon, somebody sent them a sign up code, and then they forget about it. And it's fine if you do that once or twice. $7 really isn't going to hurt anybody for the first month. But by the 15th month and the 19th subscription starts to add up, where's my money? And then you justify each individual tool by, oh, I need it for this, right? I need this for video conferencing. It's like perfectly fine. But what about Google Meets? Oh, technology. I'm still here.
Okay. I was like, is it mine? Is it happening to me again?
Friday the 13th. But
this is just crazy.
No, it's usually me.
No, it's hold on one second. I do have a backup camera. I'm gonna talk to you guys for a second while I'm getting that situated.
Okay.
Oh, there it is. So it's unfortunate that we have to stumble through technology that way, but I built a tool for Rescore, and it was something that I did with my clients, through Sidekicks, and it allows us to, number one, guess at how much money we're spending on software, right? How much do we spend on these tools? And people will throw their guesstimates out there, and usually they're off. And we go step by step. What do we use in production, right? Step 2, what do we think we might use in the future? Step 3, what do we say we'll never use again because of, whatever reason? And then I take all of that information, we send it over to our automation server, we crunch some numbers, and then I send it to Asana because most of the business owners that I talk to have not figured out how to organize their systems. And Asana is a tool that I use on a daily basis to help organize, collaborate, do work, start automation, and even complete automation in some senses. And from there, we can collaborate and work with the rest of your team to fill in all of the tools that you forgot. You can add things in there. And then I can say, out of the 5 video, tools that you're using, do you know how much they're costing? $79 a month across the board. Well, this one's free. And it also does your word processing, and it does your document store, and it does your this, and it does your that. Let's rank that one a little bit higher. If we got rid of these other 3, how would it impact your business? It wouldn't, right? If your workflow is efficient, then document processing is just document processing, not document processing with a tool. Video recording is just video recording, and it's not dependent on a particular tool. So if you can get your systems and your workflow and your SOPs established, then you're agnostic to the tool that you use to satisfy that job. It could be a person, it could be a platform, it could be anything, right? But yeah, that is what has to happen for businesses to run efficiently. Now, a lot of businesses don't run efficiently. Large organizations oftentimes don't run efficiently, but they've got the money to not run efficiently. As speaking as a small business owner, I cannot afford to not be as efficient as possible, and that's with cost. That's with the whole gamut. I think you did it to me today, Shanna. I think.
Well, my ring light's working again, so
Maybe I
there's
need to
that.
apologize.
Look
Maybe
at
I need
me,
to
guys.
apologize.
You may not be able to see Terrence, but you can see me. One of the things that you mentioned, Terrence, was automation. And I was in David Richardson, who I absolutely love him, business credit, all things that. And his passion is for serving small business owners. But he mentioned something in a meeting yesterday, and he was like, a lot of people talk about AI, AI, AI. And he's like, what they're really looking for is automation, not necessarily, another platform or, to make things more efficient. They're just going and grabbing all of these AI tools, thinking that's going to make them more efficient. And it's not necessarily the case when they're looking at how to automate processes. So can you speak to that?
AI. I love AI. I love what it is going to do for the world, really. And it's going to allow us to be more efficient. But we do need to approach AI with a certain level of excitement and at the same time, a certain level of caution. ChatGPT is a really good introduction into what AI can do for you, right? For your small business. And I encourage everybody to, even if you use free, learn how to speak the language, right? When people say prompt, you need to understand what that means. There's what we have now is the ability to take human language and computer language and kind of merge those together. Terrence can now speak music, and I can't read music to save my life, but I can say, can you create me a score similar to X, Y, and Z, have it spit something out and give it to a musician? And this was a conversation that I had a few hours ago. And the system's able to do that because it's numbers and data, for the systems. For Terrence, it's a foreign language that I'll never learn, but it allows me to communicate in a way that I wasn't able to communicate before. Another really good example is I've got a buddy. He's an outstanding artist. I used to tell him all the time, hey, I want this thing built and it's kind of like this, but then it's kind of like this. And I want it to, and it would frustrate him. He's really good at interpreting those things, just based on what he does for his career. But I always felt bad because I knew I couldn't get my thought out to him. Now I have the ability to generate something that looks close enough to what I'm looking for and say this with an anime twist on it and throw your whole Dust and Bolton thing on top of it, right? And he knows exactly what to do with it. And it's not to replace the expertise that he has. It's to kind of bridge that gap and allow me to communicate better and allow people to receive my information a lot better. That's why I'm excited about it. The reasons that I'm not excited about its uses is because, as with anything, you can misuse anything. When people sell you a solution that solves all of your problems, be careful, right? AI is it's great, but it does have its flaws. And if you don't understand where those flaws and where those limits are, you can get caught off guard. One thing that I do not do is publish information directly from a ChatGPT or any other system, right? I have to go through it. Now, does it help me get, a 5-page article done? Absolutely. I still have to read a 5-page article and make sure that the information is there. And if you've gotten to the point in your business where you don't have time to validate your work, then you're probably in the wrong business. That is a step that always needs to be in place, whether you're doing it manually or it's automatic. You have to check your work. And, I know some teachers out there are probably like, what did he just say? Yes, I'm a fan of checking work now. As long as you have some pieces in place to ensure that your quality is there, huge fan of it. Adopt it, play with it, learn from it, give back to the community because it's going to help us. It's getting me a lot closer to that Jetsons flying car that I was promised as a kid. So hopefully that answered your question.
It did. And I love that you brought up the point of checking your work, because that's one of the things that I learned early on with ChatGPT as I was going through. There was a simple math problem that it got wrong. And I was like, wait a second. And it was like, oh, my bad. You're right. You're right. 8 times 5 is 40.
Yep.
I was mistaken. And so I looked at that. And so then I started asking it questions about how it does what it does and how it's coming up with this. And the same thing when I'm writing articles. And thankfully, you know, I don't remember if it was pre-show or on, you know, and when we're live now, that you were talking about, I can still do these things. So thankfully, you know, don't replace or try to replace all of your skills with technology, because the reality is, as I'm going through and having it write things or do some research for me, what I've learned is, you know, it just makes things up. And that's part of the beauty of it. It's looking and it's saying, oh, okay, based on all of the data that I've collected or that has been fed into me, this is the way that we would logically string these thoughts together. And so many of the times I've been caught off, I'm asking it, hey, can you give me quotes for this? And it gives me these beautiful quotes. And I'm like, well, who said that? And it's just like, no one. Yep. No one. I just made that up. You can attribute it to yourself if you'd like. And I'm like, oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Makes me sound super smart, but I still need to check and make sure that that's true before I attribute it to myself.
Yep. Yep.
I mean, it gives.
So Shannon, let me ask you, if you respond to it and ask that, is this plagiarism, or how does it respond to you saying no, or will it tell you, yeah, someone else has said it before?
It'll usually tell the truth.
Yeah.
It'll usually tell you.
Well, I'm just wondering, like, if it knows.
To the best of its knowledge. Yeah. And there's always this disclaimer. And so it's really just paying attention to that. I think it's amazing. And that's one of the things that I actually did subscribe to early on, because I was like, I don't want to wait. I don't want, if the servers are all busy, I want preferential treatment here. So it's worth that to me, because I've learned how to use it to make my processes more efficient, to cut down on some of the time. But it's like you said, I still have to read a 5-page article. I still have to validate all of this information because I'm putting my name on it, and I still edit behind it. But it gives me this basis that I don't have to worry about writing every single thing that everyone else already knows.
Right.
I just have to add to it what I can add to it. Right. So, it's pretty honest about the fact that it's either making stuff up or might have gotten it wrong, or yes, someone else said this, but you have to check it.
And one power user tip that I'll give everybody when you're doing, because blog posts is usually where everybody ends. Do an outline first. If you tell it to write a blog post, it's going to give you 5 or 6 paragraphs. And I can tell if something's been AI generated, because it always ends in to conclude. It's really famous for doing that. Tell it to do an outline. And if you tell it to do an outline, it'll give you 17 bulleted items. And then take each one of those items and say, hey, generate me something specific to this. And now you're getting 3 or 4 paragraphs of that first thing. And then say, my next topic is this. Introduce my second topic and my first topic, tie those together. Feed it back what it gave you the first time. Use that. And then it's going to say, hey, in article number 1, we talked about blah, 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 blah. In this article, we're going to talk about this, that, and the third. And then in our next article, we're going to talk about, X, Y, and Z. If you haven't consumed content formatted that way, you don't know to format your content that way. And you think a blog post is a blog post. But if you look at your workflow, and your workflow should be, here's my outline. Everything should start with an outline. Here are the topics. This topic should lead into the next topic, and so forth and so on. And you would naturally do those things. So now you're instructing the system to do it based on what it's generating for you that you've already vetted. So as it goes along, you're going to maintain that high level of quality. You're going to get a tone in your writing, and it's going to be consistent across the board. But whatever you're doing, whatever writing, you're going to do an outline first. Have it generate an outline. And if that outline is solid, then start to work from it.
Agreed. And then pay attention to that conclusion, because a lot of the times it's going to give you a conclusion. And one of the times I was writing something in the conclusion that I had it right, because I broke it down section by section, like you said. It was like, in the coming chapters. And I was like, wait, isn't this the end?
Yeah, this is the end.
And it's like, yeah, usually and I give it a guy's personality, because I'm like, I feel like I'm arguing with it sometimes, but I'm like, okay, but don't tell me like I'm the stupid one. You're the one that wrote this. I give it its words right back. And it's just like, oh yeah, you're
You
right.
talk to it like I talk to Alexa. I understand. I understand.
You guys are funny.
Technology junkies. Okay, so Terrence, let's talk about the flip side of that. Whether we can see you or not, I know you're there, but the bloating of, you know, we know that we can streamline things. We can, if we get the right technology stack, we can really make our businesses more efficient, especially as we're starting out and don't have as many, you know, we don't have that team around us. Still recommend finding people versus, you know, trying to replace certain tasks with software, because you have to spend the time doing it. But what do we do when we, I guess, if I've gone through the retool tool that you've got, and I find out that I've bloated my organization with a whole bunch of technology that I don't need in this stack, what can I do? How do I start really streamlining things?
The same way you start with cleaning your house, right? Take everything out of the closets, you organize it. Can I live without this? Yes. Throw it in this pile. Do I have to have this? Yes. Throw it in this pile. Once you can start to organize and give some value to what you have, it kind of takes care of itself, right? If I can make a case for software A that does, you know, things 1, 2, and 3, and software B and C only do one of those things, any sensible person is going to say, you know, emotions aside, this is the tool that I need. It does 3 things for a third of the cost. This is what I want to move forward with. And I help, and my team, we help take the emotion out, right? We talk about numbers, we talk about value. We don't talk about how a tool makes you feel. There are some tools that I absolutely love, and we're talking about them behind the scenes. I've been a member for a number of years, and I got in. I'm paying about $8 a month for this tool that I don't use, but I just don't want to give up the discount because it's $34 now. We have to start to let those things go. And if I was able to sit down and talk with myself, I would get that off of my books immediately. But for some reason, you know, I haven't been able to do it. You've got to be able to look at what it's doing to your business and how you can reallocate, those funds. And, you know, I'm not going to upgrade to premium of this service because it costs too much. Well, if we recoup $70 a month over here, then paying an additional $30 for something that you actually need really isn't that big of a deal. And we try to put it in those terms when we're sitting down with business owners having those conversations.
Perfect. All right. Any just practical advice? Any I want people to watch that pre-show, join the community and watch the pre-show to talk about the question that Natalie asked about the fear of technology. But let's just talk about, you know, practical steps that business owners need to be taking when you're evaluating something. I know that you said, really, how much does it cost? Do I need it now? Things like that. But are there just some practical steps we can take when we're looking at technology for our business?
First thing to do, forget about price. If it's valuable, then you've already determined the price is okay, right? For your business. Understand where it's going to fit, right? If we had limited space in our home and before we bought a new thing, and sometimes we do, if you're like, I don't have space to put a new couch, you usually don't buy a new couch. Or I don't have space to put this new chair or table or shoes for that matter. I don't have any more space. We're usually able to kind of talk ourselves down. So first step is to ask where this thing fits in my business, right? Where does it fit in my workflow? Is it for me? Is it for my team? Is this just a good deal? Figure that piece out, right? If you know where it fits, you can give it value. If you can give it value, you should be able to move something out of the way, right? To make room for it. And if you can't make room for it, I'd argue that you might not need it. You might not need it. So Yeah, it's fine. Understand where the value is, understand where it fits. And, I pay a lot for, some software, and I use some software that's absolutely free, but they're all valuable to my business and how we do things.
So how often should you do a technology audit?
As often as you can. Um, if you can do monthly. And the reason I say that is because sometimes payments come out at different times. I'd say monthly. And if you can't do monthly, at least try to do it twice a year, right? Every 6 months, try to look at what you've picked up, what you've let go, and how it's serving your business. And if you remember a piece of software, that means you probably haven't used it, and it should be on your short list of things to get rid of, right? You shouldn't say, oh, I do have X, Y, and Z. There are certain tools that I touch absolutely every day. My Adobe suite, I've got a subscription for that. I don't touch it every day, but it is valuable. When I need it, right? But yeah, Asana, got to have it all day, every day, 6 times on Wednesday, right? Just, when you haven't used something and you're just holding on to it, make a list. Again, I do this in Asana. Have an inventory of all your systems, and you have a new one, add it to that list, add the price. And this is something that Retool does. We'll give you that template, but it's the tool, it's the price, it's the frequency that you pay. You get a total. And if you continue to add to that, it will help you not only monitor your software, but start to develop your SOPs for it too, right? And once you've got some SOPs, now you've got a place where you can insert a person or a process to help your business grow. So it's the baseline. It's the baseline. That's why it's one of the first things that we start with when we talk to business owners.
Okay. And so I do want to get into the SOPs. Do you have one for like every piece of software or every application? Okay.
I don't. What I do have is enough information for the team working on it to understand what's going on. So a lot of these platforms are already really well documented, and they release updates. And if I had to keep up with their updates and make updates to my updates, it'd just be a lot of churn. So what I do like to do is point to where the documentation is, and maybe some high bullet points on what was the reason for adopting this particular tool. So Google Suite, for example, document management, email, video streaming, et cetera, right? So if I do a filter on all of those tags, let's say video streaming, I may have two pop up. I know I've got Zoom, I know I've got Vimeo, and I know I've got, Google Meets. Well, Zoom has a purpose. Google Meets is usually for internal meetings. Zoom is a little bit wider audience. And then when I'm ready to do my live streaming, I actually do that on Vimeo. I've got justification for all three of those things, but I don't use Vimeo to do my meetings, right? I don't use Zoom to do those types of internal meetings. I use my Google Meets for that because it ties into Google Docs and everything else. So we understand at Psychex and Rescore how all of those things work. And if I needed to pull one back, I probably could. More than likely, it'd be Zoom, right? Because we need Vimeo for longer video stores and some things like that. Zoom doesn't do that, and Google Docs has limits as well. So that's how we manage. I don't know if it works like that or if it will work like that for everyone. But you have to start writing those down and paying attention to them. And once you do that, then you can figure out how to organize from there.
All right. Well, we're gonna take a break. We're gonna hopefully you can stay around with us. I haven't seen our business owner. We do have the bio. We do want to cover some of that. Just talk about the challenges that she's facing, some of the feedback that we've gotten in case she's not able to pop in but join live. But we do want to go ahead and do Just Good Business, and then hopefully we'll have a few more minutes with you, Terrence, where we can talk a little bit more about technology and how we can use it. Just things to look out for. Things that you absolutely recommend other than, Asana. But no, I actually do want to get into Asana because of the reason I've learned so much from you about it, that it's one of the things that I see the benefit of it. So let's look at the Just Good Business. This is a business owner out of Salem, Oregon. Beautiful story. that's not at all about them. And just the way that they came into this, I absolutely love it. And I hope that you guys will too.
I started Sackcloth and Ashes in 2014 because my mom ended up living on the streets. It completely changed my paradigm of how I view and understand the homeless community.
Stand clear of the closing doors, please.
Because she's the hardest working woman that I know. It was her journey on the streets that inspired me to actually do something about homelessness. So I started calling homeless shelters in my area to ask what they needed, and they all said blankets. That's when I came up with the idea that for every blanket that we sell, we'll donate a blanket to your local homeless shelter. Because homelessness is something that we all have right here in our backyard.
Continues to rise at an alarming rate.
This is a local problem.
Living without homes, in shelters, or on the streets.
In 2018, we launched Blanket the United States, our campaign to donate 1 million blankets to homeless shelters by 2024.
Donating 1 million blankets to shelters by 2024.
Since the launch of that campaign, we've partnered with Subaru, World Market, Churchill Mortgage, KB Home, National Geographic, and many other companies that are opting in to help us blanket the United States. The goal is to donate 1 million blankets, but our mission is to highlight the solutions and the grassroots work that's being done to help the homeless problem.
A wise man once asked, what if starting a business was like jumping out of a plane? And like 76% of businesses, what if 76% of parachutes failed before you reached the destination? What about those of you who have already jumped? Well, you may still have time to check your business. Pillar5.com, where businesses get it.
We're back. You're muted. Are you
I'm
doing
muted.
like
How do
Terrence
I
did?
keep muting?
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Okay. I thought you were doing what Terrence did to us at the beginning.
No. We're back with Terrence Bryan,
Yes.
Sidekicks LLC, and we are talking about technology. Can you hear me or am I lagging?
I can hear you.
Okay.
Terrence,
I can hear you too.
Okay.
Okay.
So before we get back into the technology conversation and then talk about the business owners challenges, what did you think about the 1 million blanket people, Sackcloth and Ashes? Had you heard of them before?
I'd never heard of them before, ever. I like what they're doing. I like what they're doing. That's I think that can help a lot of people. I really do. I really do.
Yeah, it's a huge problem. I mean, there have been a couple of these Just Good Business segments that are focused on people with a passion to help with the homeless population and really just serve that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an ever growing issue. And you know, for this guy, I was thinking about that. He was talking about his mom was homeless. And that was that's when it struck him how big of a problem it was, because it wasn't for a lack of her working.
Mm-hmm.
And especially all of us can relate to, you know, just the cost of living increase that many of us have experienced, where it's crazy how expensive it is for just basic necessities. But I when I saw that story, they were featured in Forbes. But when I saw that story, it just really, you know, struck me as this is amazing that you're giving back in a way that really benefits them, and especially as we're going into the winter months, right?
Yeah, I think one of the most powerful things about that is, I've said this a bunch of times. I'm a doer, right? I do like a good plan, but if I don't get to doing soon, you know, I'm out of there. they're actually doing this, right? They're not talking about what they can do or what they should be doing. They're not raising money, for some initiatives that will happen in the future. They're actually making it happen. And when you're able to have that type of impact, it's kind of like a snowball rolling downhill. You start to pick up the right people as opposed to looking for the right people. The right people are there. They just want to see a little bit of momentum, something that they can stick to, add to, and help grow. And it looks like that's what they're doing.
It does indeed. And I don't know what's happening tonight with not being able to see you, but I'm glad we can hear you.
No, I know exactly what's happening. I've been on 5 hours worth of meetings today, and when I left for my break, I left my camera on, so it is it's having some overheating challenges right now.
Yep. All right. Well, let's excuse me. Let's talk about the business owner. I know that when I messaged with her earlier, she was planning on being here, but she had been sick. So I'm guessing that's what's happening. But I still want to get her questions and challenges addressed if we can. So anyone in the audience, please speak up. I've got feedback from her from Alignable, but the business name is Sergeant Bubbles. Catherine is the owner of that business. You can visit them at sergeantbubbles.com. They've been in business for about 3 years. She said they specialize in handmade soaps, scrubs, lotions, bath bombs, lip balms, and lip glosses. They use all natural ingredients and source locally whenever possible. The message behind their business, she says, is that self-care is important. Anyone who needs to practice self-care, which they believe is everyone, are their target customers. She said, we're not your typical spa company. We are a fun handmade soap and body care company. So the main challenge that she saw was funding. She said it's impossible to find funding, and she struggles with social media and getting out there. She said, we're a good company with amazing feedback. I feel like we have enormous growth potential, but I'm having difficulty getting our name out there. Specific areas of business. So any coaches, experts out there, specific areas of business that she identified where they need help is finding funding or raising capital, marketing, she said, especially locally and on social media. So just marketing and goal setting. It's hard to set goals when it feels like you're stagnant. So one of the things, I guess, with Terrence, you've got so much business knowledge and acumen, and you work with amazing people that maybe are a little camera shy. But what are some of the thoughts that initially came to you just based on, what she identified as her challenge? Any questions that you would pose to her or that we can take back, or feedback that you would get? And are there any technology, applications out there that you feel like might help her with addressing some of these challenges with funding and marketing?
Oh, those are some tough ones. Funding is always a challenge. It's something that I, especially when we started Rescore, something that I and my team dealt with. So with funding, start with yourself first, if you can, right? Push yourself as far as you can, because you're going to need that when you start to ask friends and family for money, right? Don't start with friends and family. See how far you can take yourself. And it's a good and exciting challenge for me to start at zero, right? Start at zero and see where I can build. Again, I'm a really big fan of efficiency. If you can start to build an efficient process with nothing, then you can scale that efficiency, and then you won't require as much. So it's not going to be painful when the SBA says, no, we cannot approve you a loan for $500,000. If I gave a lot of business owners $500,000, they wouldn't know what to do. They'd blow through it. I can take a very, very small budget and do a lot with it. You'll find your free tools, right? You have to. You'll find your discounts. You'll find your communities that you need to be a part of. That will help tremendously. So start with yourself, right? Invest that time. And then you can start to ask friends and family. And when they say, hey, where's my money going to go? You'll be able to tell them, I need to get the pro plan of Zoom. Right now, I've got the free. I need the pro because I need 100 people in my meetings, right? I started with 15 and we just passed 25 and now I need 100, right? For this next cohort that I'm doing. It's easy to justify that. It doesn't seem like, a car salesman sales or something like that. Grants, I always point people to Latalia Barnes, not only co-founder of Rescore, but also grant expert. She gets more attention than I do on technology, and I used to feel some kind of way about it. Now I love it. I love, hey, if I'm cool, let you talk to my grants person. You got a grants person? Absolutely. And one thing that Latalia does is she says, I can't make you any promises, but I can help you understand what the grant is and what you can expect. And the education piece is, I think, the most critical. And on Rescore, she's doing a blog series right now that helps you through that. What you'll see on YouTube is a lot of people will say, hey, there's a $5,000 grant for, small business owner for women. But then when that window closes or all of those, grant dollars have been, utilized, then what do? Right? If you chase grants, you're always going to miss a grant. If you understand what a grant is, you can know when it's coming, right? Hey, I missed it this year, but this is an annual grant, or they do this 3 times a year, or this is government funded versus privately funded. And you know where to be, right? Part of the problem is not knowing where to be. We say in our Rescore, small business owners need access, awareness, and availability to resources. The availability is there. You just have to be aware, and you've got to get access, and you can get those things through education. You can do some on your own. You can do some through, finding an individual like Latalia. YouTube's a great resource, but try to find an understanding of what these grants are and how they work, and not necessarily the dollars, right? So that's the funding piece. I think there was a piece of about social media as well.
Yeah.
That's not my strong suit. It never has been. There are a lot of people that will sell you, I can get you 1,000 followers, a whole bunch of clicks. Understand what that means, right? Does that translate to money? Does that translate to business? Does that translate to leads? And you'll get they've got new terminology. So there are impressions, there are views, there are clicks. There's a whole bunch of different stuff. And if somebody tells you they can get you 100,000 of them, you're like, oh yeah, I want that. Until you realize that just means that we're going to flash this on a screen in front of somebody where they're, scrolling real fast, and that counts, right? And if they scroll back up to find that cool video that they were watching, that's 2 impressions, right? That's two views. How valuable is that to your business, right? Versus you building a community around yourself. And, when I use that word community, I usually start talking about Rescore, but I'll kind of stop there and say, if you're going to build a social media following, do that once your community starts to ask for that, right? But if you start looking for a following before you can bring value to individuals, then you're probably in the wrong business, in the wrong space.
Okay, Natalie, what are your thoughts on that? Because
I have a lot to say. I'm like, okay, so I followed them, of course, as soon as you send out their bio, I followed. So I hope they come back in and watch this. But one of the reasons why I feel like I have so much to say is because I can relate to her a little bit, right? And Shannon, you already even know what I'm going to say, which is when she says, who's her target customer? She says, anyone who needs to practice self-care, which we believe is everyone, is our target customer. Okay, I have been in financial planning 20 years this year, okay? The first 17 years, Catherine, that was my answer. Everyone spends money. Everyone spends money. Right. Everyone uses money, right? That was not the right answer, by the way, which I learned obviously the show. The more time I've spent with Shanna in the business coaching is you have to get clear on who that client is for you. That'd be the first thing. Are they male? Are they female? What is their age? What are their, because you need to know who you're talking to, right? Something that I learned from that, a little side tip for you, Catherine, will be that once you start talking to your target market customer, people that if it's a female, well, men that like your stuff will just start to show up by default, right? So that would be the first thing, is really getting clear on who that target market is, so you know who you're talking to. Because when I looked at the page, it was a little all over the place, and that's what let me know she doesn't know who she's talking to yet. I can relate to that. And 17 years obviously is too long to not know who I'm talking to. And then on the funding side, my question would be, how do you know you need funding? Like, do you think you just need funding because you're a new business owner and that's just what people do? Or like, where does that come from? Or like Terrence said, can you just bootstrap it and make it happen and make sure that you're just looking for opportunities to sell? I think in what she's doing with the soap and the lip balms and whatever, consistency on social media is a must. Obviously, a big part of that she has to learn to master, especially if she's doing it herself, is the psychology behind selling on social media, which is the biggest thing. Otherwise, you're just posting to post. But if you're, wanting to have an online presence or, selling stuff online and selling, you need to be consistent. 3 years in business, I should see at least 2 years of posting. I would think that you're sitting out there and putting out your brand. The also thing too is you're 3 years in, everything has a gestation period, right? We're pregnant for 9 months. So you could be right there at your turning point, just keep moving forward. So that's my
I love
version.
that. Yeah. And I agree with you. When I saw the target market, it's just like, and that's great, because you're right. I feel like almost everyone uses soap. But if you go to the website, there are adult soaps, there are, lip balms, there's a lot of things. And so it's just like, understand who you couldn't have said it better, Natalie. Understand who you're talking to and who you're trying to get. They will find you if you start speaking their language. And then we had a lot of feedback on this one. I'll read a few of the things I told everyone I'd call them out so that they would know. Samuel, his company is SRH Development. He said, start with the basics. He wanted to understand more of what are their current customers saying about their products and services. And we talked about that last week. Start letting people know what people are saying. If you're saying you have amazing feedback, then make sure that everyone understands that. You can use social media for those purposes. Someone else talking about how great your product is a lot more powerful than you talking about how great your product or service is. And then, are they addressing a need that potential clients have expressed to have, is another question that he asked. And I'll go ahead and Catherine, I'll make sure that you get all of this feedback. Amy Garcia, she is from Amy Garcia Leadership Coach. And she was saying she wanted to address this by flipping the question and inviting you to consider not seeking funding. So instead of saying, I can't find funding, she's just like, you can do it. And in the process, you keep control. And she said, as a former CEO and co-owner of a multi-million-dollar shoe company that they bootstrapped from the ground up using minimal personal savings, she's got a lot of information there. But she was just saying, hey, consider not doing that before you seek funding, or even for your marketing efforts. Get clear on the answers to 7 questions. I'll send those to you to make sure that you have that. But some of those are, who's on your team? What's your progress? What's your unique value proposition? So it's really looking and digging into, again, just how you're marketing, how you're speaking about your product. Ricardo, I don't want to butcher his last name, EEM Technologies Corp is where he's from. He said the phrase, it's impossible to find funding leads me to believe there's actually more of a mindset blocker behind that topic. So he said he wouldn't be surprised if that trickled over to other areas of the business. So deep, good questions along with reprogramming core beliefs would allow things to flow. So consider that, Catherine, just shifting your mindset, thinking about your business, not really looking at it's impossible to find it, but like Terrence was saying, what do you need it for? Or Natalie, you're saying, hey, how am I going to use this when I get it? What am I actually saying I need funding for? Do you know how much funding you need? So keeping in mind some of these things. Brian Burke, Action Capital Source, happy to help. So keep that in mind. He's right there on Alignable with you. So make sure that you try and reach out to Brian Burke. And then I think that was it. I had another finance capital person that provided some information. So I'll share all of that with you, Catherine. But a lot of these thoughts and feedback are the same. Really looking into how you're going to spend that money, because again, I don't remember if it was on this side of the conversation or pre-show, but many businesses with all of the, if you give them all of this money, they can blow through it easily if you're not clear on what you're going to spend it on, how you're going to spend it. You may just be purchasing things that you absolutely don't need when you're ignoring things that you do. So it's really paying attention and being a lot more clear on, who your business is serving, how you're serving them, what your mission is. Sharing that, people can relate and want to support really strong missions like, sackcloth and ashes. You really do want to give to that because what they're doing. They have blankets, you have soap, you have a product that many people absolutely want and love giving as gifts and things like that. How are you speaking about it? How are you letting people know, here's what I've got, here's what you can do with it because it meets this need for you?
Awesome.
So that's that. Okay. Now we normally at this time would jump over to It's Your Boy Fitzroy, and we're going to do that. But Terrence, there's one thing I did want to do right before we let you go. And thank you for sticking around with us, giving the feedback to the business owner. But you've mentioned Asana many times. And one of the reasons that I want you to speak to this is the automation aspect of it, because many business owners, if we talk about streamlining, it's really looking at automating processes. And what you've done for us with the show has been so helpful. I've had business owners reach out to me to say, hey, that's amazing. I fill out this form. But what they don't realize is that the form that they filled out, you set up this whole process that all we have to do is send out this link. People fill out the form, and then everything kicks off with just a couple of clicks that we have to do on our side. Mm-hmm. So can you just real quickly talk about the power of automation and ways that people can do that? I know that they can reach out to you, and that's something that Sidekex definitely does. But speak to that real quickly, a minute or two, so that we can keep this moving, but it's important.
Yeah, no, it'll be more than a few minutes. I love this. Let me start by saying the automation was the easy part, because Shanna and Natalie already had a workflow in place. It was something that they had done for multiple seasons. They knew where the inefficiencies were. They knew what problems they wanted to solve. So I was able to come in and say, hey, this tool will give you better emails. This tool will automate these 4 manual steps. Here's how we can do the scheduling that's manually done now. Without the process already in place, it would have been a very, very difficult thing, difficult problem to solve. I'll say it that way. There's a bunch of tools that we can use. I think there are a lot of business owners that are probably tapping into things like Zapier, and I like them because they're powerful, but they're dangerous if you don't already have that process in place. Shanna, I think you can attest to it. The initial setup, I think it took a couple of days. And you had to learn a new tool, right? To do your emails and learn a new process in Asana. The work wasn't hard to automate it, but again, it was only because there was already a workflow in place. And there have been a couple of people that on my end that have seen that workflow, and I've kind of used it as hey, here's a thing that we can do. Everybody's doing a show. Well, not everybody. A lot of people are doing shows. A lot of people have to do invites, and a lot of people have to have this type of production process. So this is something that we can rinse and repeat really, really easily if your organization allows for it. I've probably got for Rescore 19 different automations that are currently running, and it really allows you to extend outside of your platform or your lack thereof, right? You can run things off of a Google spreadsheet if you want to, and have a very, very powerful automated process on the back end. But I encourage business owners, before they jump into that, make sure you've got the workflow in place. You've got the process in place. Do it at least, some people say 3 times, do it 5 or 6 times, right? So that you really understand it. And then you'll see the value in investing, because these things are not free, right? Something that's going to give you back, 6 hours a week of your time, you have to be able to put some value on that. When a company like Sidekex comes in and says, it costs X amount of dollars to do this, right? This is a show you do every week for, 50 weeks out of the year. you can look at that dollar amount and say, hey, I'm going to get my return back in a year, in 6 months, or whenever that is. So, keep those things in mind. If it's not valuable to you, you won't be able to have anybody, develop that automation. So value.
Fantastic. Terrence Bryant, I knew you wouldn't disappoint.
If only my camera was
You never have, Terrence. You never have.
Thank you so much. Terrence Bryant, Sidekex LLC. How do they reach you real quickly?
Reach me at sidekex.com. That's SIDEKECHS.com. Or you can find me over on Rescore. That's www.rescore.us.
Awesome. Yes. Thank you so much for joining us, and look forward to continuing to do great things with you.
Absolutely.
All right, you guys, it is time for It's Your Boy Fitzroy.
Boy.
The fourth step is to set up your business structure and logistics. And to do that, we're going to head over to LexChart. LexChart, which is in no way associated with Lex Luthor,
nearly 2/3 of its people work for me whether they know it or not,
is used for AI-powered organizational charts. LexChart will draw up the company structure, represent relationships, and streamline your organization to improve communication within your business. This site is so cool, I'm actually using it to put together my own personal family tree. LexChart does have both a paid and a free version, so if you wanted to jump in and try it out, you can do so at no cost.
With this website, your business will be the Ayatollah of rock and roller. All right, don't get beat up out there.
Okay, do you know what that one was? Because I literally don't know any of these. I'm like,
I do not know that one. It's a wrestler, I know. I know it's a wrestler, but I don't know.
Are they all wrestlers?
Have they not necessarily, but I know that tagline. I know that tagline. I want to say that might be Randy Savage.
Okay, now we'll have to ask him. I need to tell him to just email me what it is so that we can tell people, because I don't know, or if you guess enough of them, maybe they'll get a journal or something. We need to do something. Okay, so you've got a money minute for us, right?
Yes, money minute. How many of you guys want to make some money right now tonight after the show? How many of you have a couple of old cell phones sitting around? Anybody? You can go to declutter.com. Shanna has it up right there. And you just go hit cell phone. Shanna's actually take you through. I'm going to show you one of my old cell phones. I'm going to tell you guys something I did. I think it's funny because it reminds me of the girl math thing that's going on right now, right? So T-Bone will send me a text. Do you want a iPhone 15 on us with your business plan? We'll pay for your phone, blah, 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 right? So I'm like, sure. I had an iPhone 11. I hadn't had a phone in a long time. If they're going to give me a free phone, I'm going to call and see what my offer is. So this phone was like $900. There's extra fees that go with it. I don't know what it is, you guys, but I just feel like I can't say this enough. When you start being a better steward of your money, like just things you can't explain happen, right? There's supposed to be all these setup fees, collect fees, blah, 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 blah. He didn't charge me any of that stuff. All I had to pay was the $78 fee for my phone, right? $70 tax. I got my iPhone 15. Now, if I take my old phone and send it in and I get the money, I'm ahead, which means what? It means T-Mobile paid me to get a new phone. Okay. I'm ahead $122 extra dollars. Girl math. I'm ahead $122 extra dollars for getting a new phone. So, Shanna, you'll hit start selling.
Okay. Okay. And you're really testing technology tonight, asking me to do stuff while we're.
Can you see the start selling button?
Streaming.
Okay, yeah. I know, right? Then you'll just click on phones.
Yes, I did it. It just takes a minute.
Oh, okay.
We're going to be way over tonight.
I just want everyone to see how easy it is. They give you
start
the
selling
right there.
Again?
Yeah, so start selling. You'll do the iPhone 11 is the one that I have. I mean, they make it so simple. You literally just, click on the phone.
Can I could I just not type in iPhone 11?
Yeah, I think it's just your technology. So once you go to iPhone and you hit start selling, all the phones will pop up. You click on your
So
phone.
not when you're live.
You click on your phone, which for me to be the iPhone 11, it asks you, what's the quality of it?
Here it is. Sell now.
Yeah. Does it have any cracks, any deficiencies? Mine is no. Mine is in excellent condition. I have no scratches, no watermarks, no pixelating, any of that stuff. It asks you if it has the original box, if I have the original headphones, and if I have, and your carrier. Your carrier matters. So I have T-Mobile. And my phone is excellent. Shanna, if
what's the size? 64, 128, or 256?
128, yeah, 128. And let me tell you, okay, yeah. I was like, if it tells you more than it told me, I'm gonna be mad. So, and then you just hit sell this device, which actually, Shanna, I don't know why it's offering you
$210.
It offered me $200. It was offering you $10 more. But either way, you mail this in. When they get the device, they look it over, see if what you said is true. If the phone's in condition, they sent it in. If so, then they will mail you a check for that amount of money. They can PayPal you, or I believe even direct deposit you. I believe you have the 3 choices. Maybe it's just PayPal and check. But as soon as they get the phone, review it, they will send you the money. Now, there's different sites to do this. You can check it out. Just Google it, where sites you can sell your phone on. I like this site called Clark.com. You guys can check it out if you'd like to look at shopping trends and stuff like that I do. But he had the top 8 up. I did the first 3 that he had on there. He said Declutter would pay the most, and it did by probably $50, $60 more, $70 if you use what Shanna did. So you can make some money tonight. So send it in. As soon as they get it, you get money, baby. So, hey, it can be a fast turnaround for you.
All right. Well, I'm going to run through the grants real quickly, and that way people know. So keep in mind, free money, but know what you're going to do with it. We've talked about that. So the first grant is one that we've covered, but the expiration is tomorrow. So FedEx $10,000 grant, majority, this is for veterans and individuals with disabilities. So keep that in mind. Minimum or maximum 25 employees, gross revenues less than 7 million, and you have to have a need for the funding. So they want to know that you know what you're going to do with it. $5,000 grant. They're giving away 40 of these. Crescendo Con TikTok grant. That's with the Hispanic Heritage and TikTok combining together. They're just combining forces to give Latinx small business owners, small business as defined by the SBA, $5,000 for each grant. So they're giving away 40 of those, U.S. residents only, with businesses registered in the United States. You have to have demonstrated perseverance, resourcefulness, hard work, and entrepreneurial vision in your communities. And you have to have an active TikTok account. So don't have to dance, but you do have to have an account. The next one is, this is not for business owners necessarily. It's a grant that Pure Leaf by Nestle, they're giving away this no grant. And it's designed for mothers, legal residents of the United States. You have to be 18 or older. It's designed to help you be able to say no to working more, yes to spending more time with family, but they're not really limiting what you can do with that, to the best of my knowledge. So definitely check that out. It ends the end of this month. We'll share it with you one more time before the end of the month. And then the last one, local community grants, Walmart. This is for nonprofits. So if you have a nonprofit, 501c3, and they do have a couple of other nonprofit entities that are eligible organizations, but you have to be Cyber Grants front door verified. So check that out. Make sure that you qualify. You just click the link that they've got on their page. And then it falls under, you have to fall under 8 areas of funding needs. So those are all listed there. We're going to share these with you later on, but we're over time, so I don't want to belabor this. We'll make sure that you have this information, but you have until the 15th of October to apply for this if you're a nonprofit in a local area. So check out all of the eligibility. We're just giving you the basics here so that you know where to go, but we'll share the URL with you, and that way you can check that out. And that is, I know next week we have Denise O'Malley, and it's my birthday next Thursday. So y'all are going to get to spend my birthday. But yes, the show will go on. I will be here. And we have not only Denise talking about the intersection between personal and business life. You know, it's really just recognizing that space that you need to really look at if you're a business owner, making sure that one doesn't bleed over the other, that there's time for all of this. And then our business owner is the very first business owner that we had on the show, Barbara Currents of BJC Jewelry. She's going to come back, give us an update, let us know additional challenges. We're all facing challenges as business owners. You know, you're growing. That means that there are new levels of challenges and decisions that need to be made. And so she's coming back to let us know what she's done up to this point and ask for more advice. So join us back next week to help her better her business.
Awesome. And don't forget to join our community, our free community. It's scrolling down across the bottom of the page. Our what do you call it, Shanna? I always call it pregame. What do you call it? Pre-show?
Oh, yes. Pre-show convo.
Pre-show, we'll have pre-show convos on there. We're going to have lots of great just freebies, you know, content. If you need spreadsheets. One of the greatest things about the community, I think, is that it's going to be a safe place to have great conversations around business, right? You have your Terrence Bryants, you have Shanna's, you have your Carltons all there to really be able to ask questions and help you better your business. So join our community. It's going to be a very valuable resource. So we're excited about that. Awesome job tonight. Thank you, Terrence, for joining us. Shanna, thank you for all that you do. And thank you, everyone who joined us tonight. Have a great week. We will see you next Thursday for Shanna's birthday. So make sure you come with ready to celebrate. We'll see you soon. And Shanna's frozen. I love the face. Have a great week, everybody. Can it turn off or no?
I can't. I can't do anything. I'm like completely frozen.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, I'm back. And now you're frozen.
I started Sackcloth and Ashes in 2014 because my